Well, it is official. Our beloved NHS, the envy of the world, has gone full woke, as they are now advising their own NHS staff to no longer recognize patients' genders. Yeah, it initially started as diversity trainings, then 8 p.m. on Thursdays clapping for the NHS, and then throwing money at this bottomless pit without actually reforming it, which is harming the patients and some of the good doctors and nurses who just want to do their jobs. And then the rainbow unicorns came along, and now it's reached a new level. Oh, the envy of the world, the sacred cow, the blind faith religion of the NHS is now going against basic biology, basic science. So, one thing is about respecting people's individual liberties. I don't care what you do in your life. I'm a libertarian on these issues. Do whatever you want, be whoever you want, call yourself whatever you want. Just don't really impose your views on anybody else, and don't really enforce policies that affects the whole society. Now, they're now saying that you can't really identify or recognize people's genders, patients' genders. What if it actually matters during a treatment, for example, during some sort of checking or something on a basic level? But now this is actually happening now. Now, Steve Barclay, who's the current health secretary, is kicking off about it, saying that, well, this is outrageous, it shouldn't be like this, and, well, he's spot on. But we've heard this from successive health secretaries, from Sajid Javid to all the others. Matt Hancock said it a couple of times. But they didn't really do anything about it, did they? They just stand there and just say, well, this is wrong. The NHS shouldn't do this. But is that it? Do you have any powers to do anything about this nonsensical anti-science behavior? Well, the NHS, they've released this 16-page document that advises their staff saying, asking someone who was assigned female at birth, are you Ms., Miss, or Mrs., carries with it an assumption that their gender identity matches the sex that they were assigned at birth. What if we just go with, well, basic respect but basic normality? So if you see a female, you could check Ms., Miss, Mrs., whatever. And if the tiny percentage in society that are not like that or don't think like that, don't feel that way, this is not their truth, as Meghan Markle would say, then they could just correct them or ask them to say something else. So to get clarification, it helps. Maybe we don't need to change the whole of society, but whereas like 99.999% are not like that. Maybe we shouldn't really do a blanket policy for the whole country, but apparently that's not really the case anymore. So as I said, Steve Barclay is not happy. He's reportedly hit the roof after being shown the document. He has said that the taxpayers' money needs to be invested in fixing the NHS so that it can provide better care for patients, not squandered on woke pamphlets. This guide has not been endorsed by the government. Again, I absolutely agree with Steve Barclay. Well done for speaking out. But again, it actually goes back to the main problem of the whole healthcare system in this country. We've essentially, in the name of universal healthcare, we've not only turned it into a blind faith religion or a sacred cow, we've given it to the state. Not necessarily the government, but the state. Which means that the media and the mainstream political parties, especially during election times, they use it to attack each other. They pretend that the government and the health secretary has direct influence on the everyday operations of the NHS. So the Labour side would come and say, well, the Tories did this in the NHS. Or the Tories would say, well, the Labour Party did this in the NHS. Well, the reality is, because of the system that you guys have created, it doesn't really matter if it's red or blue in the Department of Health, because the NHS is basically like a quango. It's on its own. You can't really have any say. You can release statements, but you're not really in charge of the everyday operations, which is absolutely fascinating. You would think everybody would know this, but no, because trade unions go out there and focus on, they're on strikes and everything else, and their criticism is primarily with the health secretary or the department. Well, I'm not really defending the political class in this situation. It's actually their fault. They created this. But the everyday operations, if you want to protest anybody, go to the NHS HQ. Go to Elephant and Castle in London. Go to the actual NHS trusts, because they are in charge of the everyday operations. That they are the ones that are failing the system. Now, I wish that at this point, if we're going to have some sort of centralized, nationalized healthcare system that is nonsensical, and we don't have it in any other country in the world, they have a universal healthcare system, free access, but they don't have completely nationalized in that sense. If you're going to have this, then give more power to the politicians. It sounds really weird to say. Give more responsibility to the Department of Health if it's going to be like this. Otherwise, completely get rid of it and replace it with a proper universal healthcare system like the Nordic countries or the Western European countries or, God forbid, Singapore. It works, but clearly it's controversial. You can't really have a universal healthcare system. You need to have a flag and 8 p.m. Clapping. I don't understand why. We're not really turning into some sort of private system. It's not really, there's no such thing as a privatized system. Even the American system, the American government is directly involved in it, and that's a messed up system. It has its benefits because of the high quality of outcome, but it's expensive and it creates complications. But we don't even want that in this country. It wouldn't work in this country. We don't want the American system in this country. We simply want it to be more common sense, more European style. Who's going to listen? Nobody. Absolutely nobody in the establishment. Let me know your thoughts. What system would you think is best for Britannia? I'm Mahyar, Tousi, and we are the media.